every athlete, every person, every human being has an opportunity. Some opportunities don't come when you want them. But if you're prepared, good opportunities can happen. Always be ready, because you never know when your number is gonna get called.
I'm not coming back.
EMIY Apparel. Encourage me. I'm young.
Calvin T. Mann, leading EMIY, served over 20,000 youth through speaking, coaching, and mentoring. He has inspired us for years. Welcome to EMIY TV Podcast with your host, Calvin T. Mann, the Encourager.
Good afternoon. It's October and it's good afternoon. So Sweetest Day was this weekend. Welcome to EMIY TV Podcast, where Ra is falling asleep while being a guest in the studio. Right? And we are here. Today is senior day. We don't mean seniors in high school. We don't mean seniors discounts. We mean senior citizens. And as usual, our favorite is back in the building. Mana Hill in the building to discuss what seniors like. Dave is in the building. Me, Dave, and Heather all are senior. Everybody in here is a senior. Right? So we this is our conversation, right?
Wow.
The reality of things, right? And, right. And today we're going to, discuss seniors and exercise and mental health. But before we get right into that, there's a couple of things we need to do. November 2nd, for Men's Health Month, we're hosting a Dads and Donuts. The only difference is the food is by Crab House. And so it's sponsored by Cox and then EMIY Inc. And we're going to have dads in the building. You can get the link. It's on my page. It's in the events section. But if you go to my personal page, you'll be able to see the link for the Dads and Donuts. You have to register for the head count for food. And so right now we just launched it. We got 80 spots to go. We got 20 people registered. And we're good to go. And you can bring your child, Dad. So let's get right to work and understand that. The other thing is, what you got?
Well, on Saturday, October the 26th, I believe that's a Saturday,
Yeah.
I am on a panel for the You Are Chosen Women's Weekend Retreat. And so I'm really excited about having time with Andrea Thompson. She is one of the supporters of women in entrepreneurship. And so she has invited me to be a part of this discussion for that weekend. Oh, and you do have to register. You can go to Eventbrite to get your tickets. You can look under LEEC, You Are Chosen Weekend Retreat.
Yes, I'll also be on the panel.
Are you now?
Yeah, I'm waiting on my final details because I get to talk a lot of boo-boo.
And then, so there are two other events that I'm a part of. I am doing a recast of the How to Get Your Man seminar online. And then we have coming up on Saturday, October 16th for our Women Ignited monthly series. We are having Connecting to Your Man. And one of our featured workshop speakers is Calvin T. Mann. He's going to chime in. He's going to chime in on that workshop. So it's going to be a lot of fun. It's a lot of good information, things that you can use. You know, we always talk about the 3 aspects for women that we need to always engage. So that's our personal life, our inner wellness, our financial wellness, and our relationships. And so this is going to be a really good conversation.
Okay, and the last thing is we could use your support. So if you go to EMIWorld.com, click donate, the first donation button, we can always use your support like ASAP. Go there, click donate, because this work that we do with boys is not one that people are funding. And so it's often difficult to make sure that we take care of our boys. Other than that, we get right into it. Ms. Mana?
Good afternoon.
How are you?
Good. How are you today?
Well, we hanging in there. We hanging in there. I think we're doing pretty good since the last time you were here. And yeah, it's been a while. We've won a few awards and all of that.
Good job. Good job. So we're going to read a couple little poems.
Sure, let's
and then
get
we'll
out.
get right into it. So, beautiful old age. Okay. It ought to not be lonely to be old, the full of the peace that comes with experience and the wrinkled fulfillment, the wrinkled smile that is following the understanding and undaunting acceptance. They would ripen the apples and scented the pipings of the old age. Soothing old people should be like apples, when one is tired of love. Fragrant in orange leaves and dim of the soft stillness and satisfaction of autumn. A girl should say, it must be wonderful to live to grow old, like her mother to be rich that she is. A young man should say, by the love of his father and faced with the withers of his life has been full of life. Exercise. So we're going to talk a little bit about mental health and exercise. Exercise. A year since that day, the feeling that made me this way, emotion that took root, alas, that is all moot. The hurt that has climbed its way, and it's warmed up. Things made me fall, no one to catch me at all. As I lay alone, darkness creeps to the bone. So when we exercise, we got to think of that. We got all these different things. We got to warm up. We got to warm up. And it feels, but you can feel it's hard getting going when you get exercise going. And you get older, it's even harder to get motivated to do it, right?
Right.
To even take the time to have exercise.
Right.
But along with exercise, the first thing is mental health. So your mental health encompasses your emotional, your psychological, your social well-being, your cognition, your perception, your behaviors, and it all wraps around with our physiological body. So our body, and how an individual handles stress, how they deal with their interpersonal relationships, their decision-making. Mental health is subject to well-being, their autonomy, intergenerational dependence, self-actualization, and how we take care of ourselves. So, we have to think about the aging process. What's normal? Have you ever thought about your normal aging and what's normal?
That's a thought that's always
I'm
on
a
my
man
mind.
of sex. Sex is normal.
So normal, your muscles and your bone and your skin. The fact is that your skin starts to drop. It starts to sag. And you'll see the wrinkling in the hair. You'll lose your hair, and your skin will start to...
Why is that?
You lose elasticity in your skin.
That's what it is? Mm-hmm. Okay.
So that's what, you hear about older adults with tattoos. So imagine having your whole body tattooed and you're old and it's hanging way down. Seriously,
I have not
against
seen that
tattoos,
yet,
but I've seen it many times with older adults and seniors and things.
So that happy face is most definitely
It'll be hanging way down. So you lose muscle mass, and that's because as we age, we lose muscle mass. You're not as strong, so you got to keep that going. You got to keep your muscles, keep them moving.
Some of us maintain it, right, Dave?
Work out. Good job. That's what got to work out. Strength training is important. We have to pump up our brakes. Back to our aging. Strength training can help us with that loss of bone density. So density can become too low. You hear them say, people have osteoporosis. And osteoporosis, can they do a bone mass test? I don't know if you guys have had those before. But you want to develop that, and you want to take that vitamin D that they tell you. I mean, I know we're all bad about that, and they say you got to take all these vitamin Ds, and I'm not the best person about taking the vitamin D. But we got to take that to build up that bone mass. But it's also about strength training. So aging skin, your skin loses elasticity. It becomes due to gravity and the damage of the sun rays. So think about when you're being out in the sun a lot. Make sure that you have the sunscreen on and the layers of protection. Wear that hat. Have protective clothing, the time spent in the sun. Avoid sun damage. And it can also happen when you smoke. Smoking can cause you to have an increase in wrinkles as well.
Is that right? No,
haven't you seen somebody
new.
35 and smoking? They look 72.
I didn't notice that.
Alcohol does it with the nose, too. Alcohol will make the nose widen.
Yeah.
And you'll see it as they age, their nose will be wide and thick.
Or they get the cauliflower in the
Ears.
They're not always from wrestling.
Oh,
Right.
wow. Oh no, this is new information for me.
And your vision changes.
Okay, that's not new.
Vision, and we probably, every one of us, all of us are aging now, and you get, they call it presbycusis. Presbyopia is of the eye. And presbyopia is where your lenses start to yellow. So all of us have that. Our eyes
Presbyopia.
Presbyopia.
How do you avoid the yellowing
You're
of the eyes?
You're never gonna avoid it. It's just gonna happen.
Everybody has glasses, but Monique.
In my purse.
Every one of us do it at a different level or at a different time, but our lenses are going to yellow. And then, of course, you have to have regular eye exams, and then you might have to have glasses or contact lenses. And then something happens that people get cataracts, where it's really foggy and they can't see at all, and they'll go and they'll repair the cataract. My father was a perfect example. He couldn't read at all. And then we had his cataracts redone. He could read the newspaper. He could read anything. So it was so foggy he couldn't see it at all. But then when he got them repaired, so those are things to think about. I know I'm really bad sometimes at night. My night vision. As we get older, you'll notice that your night vision might not be as well, or that car will come to you and you see the bright lights, and that happens as we age too. We don't see it as hearing changes. Our hearing, presbycusis is the things that you hear in tone, like your really high pitches, or if you're in a background and there's all these people and you can't hear what people are saying to you. You're kind of in your own world because, like you go to a football game or something and somebody's trying to talk to you and they're trying, but you can't hear a thing that they're saying. So a lot of older adults have to rely on hearing aids.
So that's why they go, huh?
Right. Huh? Huh? Yeah. And then along with that, they'll have hearing aids, or what else happens? Wax buildup. Get a lot of wax buildup. So sometimes people will say, oh, that person's got dementia. Guess what? They might not have dementia at all. They might not be able to hear what you're saying to them. They might be able to see me, and if they read my mouth, but they can't hear me, so they're just expressing themselves, or they're just not paying attention to anything we have to say because they don't hear it. Right? So then the brain changes. As we age, our brain changes. We have to keep our brain active, meaning that we have to do crossword puzzles, keep ourselves reading, keep ourselves involved, keep ourselves going places, stimulation, doing things that's intellectual, reading, being with family, having conversations, keeping that brain, constant thinking, problem solving. You'll see word searches. Those kinds of things are really important but dementia is not the same thing as Alzheimer's. So dementia is something that we get that goes along with the diagnosis. So a diagnosis could be a heart problem or a stroke, and along with that disease, you would get dementia to go with it. But oftentimes Alzheimer's it could be onset when you're in your 50s, and you'll see it gradually. It goes at different stages, but you'll see it gradually. You'll see different levels of it. And
what are some of the symptoms, though?
Brain starts to shrink with Alzheimer's disease. You mean of dementia, so some of the symptoms?
Yes.
So some of the symptoms of dementia is all of a sudden they stop caring for themselves. They're not going to wash their hair anymore, not going to take care of their physical appearance. Their home might be upside down. Maybe it's, you're used to them. All of a sudden, mom has a beautiful home, and then all of a sudden she can't do it anymore. But she might not be able to see either. She might not be able to see things. But they don't know how to finish things. They don't know how to start projects. They need to they become forgetful. They don't know how to do their checkbooks. So or manage their bills. So the bills start piling up. They don't even go to the mailbox. They don't think about the mailbox anymore. They've forgotten. They've forgotten to go to the mailbox.
So is it part of the memory loss or the loss of your routine?
It can be both. It could be the loss of the routine because they're or just all of a sudden something major happens in their brain. They could have a stroke or something people don't know about, and that could cause the whole dementia process along with the cognition, the change in the cognition. Or it could just be a loss of the routine because all of a sudden they were working and they were highly involved. Then they're not working anymore. There's not anything for them to do. They become unstimulated and they're not caring for themselves, or they're depressed as well. So that goes along with it. Lots of brain changes.
Is there an age range for those changes? I know you said you mentioned something about being in your 50s.
In your 50s, you can develop Alzheimer's. People sometimes will get Alzheimer's in their 50s. But there's older adults with diagnosis, that it could be as young as your 50s, but it could go into your 70s and 80s. It depends on, late dementia, meaning a person that's an older, they call it old, meaning 90s to 100s. And we have a lot of those, they'll have forgetfulness. So dementia is different than forgetfulness. Forgetfulness is sometimes we just forget things. Mm-hmm. We forget to take our medication, or we forget, but can be detrimental to our health. Or we forget to eat. We forget to feed the dog. Say somebody has a dog, they forget to do that, or they forget to pay their medication. So they need a lot of cueing, redirection, and supervision. So if you have seniors that are by you and you notice that there's changes, you need to, speak up and say something. If we don't, we have to look at our community. We have to look at each other and say, wow, I haven't seen that neighbor for a really long time.
And one of the things that I noticed is that when you bring up that terminology to a person, that sometimes they get really angry and very defensive. Is there a better way to approach, your loved ones, your neighbors, when you start seeing those changes?
Just let them know that you're there for them is one thing. I'm here for you. I see, is there anything I can do to help you? Can I come over and take you to the grocery store? Or can I pick up something for you? Don't pinpoint it right away because they become defensive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you're better off to just ask to assist, or, reach out and say, is there anything I can do to help? Any ways that, we contact the family, contact but they're not always going to let you in either.
Right.
That's another story in itself that, it becomes, they become guarded. They don't want to share the issues that are going on with them.
Right.
Mona, that it takes place because one of the things as we progress in age, we become a little more protective of our independence.
We do.
And so when you approach individuals who are going through those changes, it's almost saying to them, you can't handle it anymore. You've been functioning at this high performance for the last 40 years, and all of a sudden now most of them know a little bit that they're declining. Something's wrong. I keep forgetting stuff. I can't put this around. But as they start seeing it progress, now they want to protect themselves because you may put them in a nursing home, or you may not be around them, or you're going to say they're crazy. So I think we should find a very unique way of approaching them and be very gentle about it.
And it's really, can you imagine being a gentleman that's drove his whole life, right, and all of a sudden you're worried about him driving? Taking those keys is a big deal. It's his independence. He's probably not capable of driving anymore. He probably would get lost when he's out there. But then at the same time, the approach is difficult. But I think it's part of getting to know that person, right, and knowing them at a different level first before you go in and start making the changes. Let them know that you're there for them, and what can you do? Baby steps to help. Baby steps are really important.
What foods can you eat to prevent or reverse or get involved with that changing?
Well, I've always heard a healthy diet, like fruits and vegetables and turmeric and ginger and a lot of healthy, really healthy diet. Salads, not processed foods. And we have a tendency as Americans to eat a lot of processed food, fast food, those kinds of things. I know we all, it's a thing of now, but eating a healthy diet is really important. And having balanced meals. Balance, meaning a good breakfast, a good lunch, dinner, snacks in between, not drinking the pop, drinking water and having vegetables and fruit.
You mean asking older adults to give up Pepsi?
Yeah, and that's that's their quality of life.
Right.
A lot of them, that's what they want. And candy bars. My mother-in-law, her first thing is Coke and candy bars, and she's 96. We allow her to have it, but we still make sure she has her breakfast and her sandwiches. Or
you got to monitor.
Yeah, have to monitor her.
Right.
So then, as we have to think about also the aging of our body. We have different systems, like our cardiovascular system, meaning our heart. Diseases start to take place and can cause death as early as your 60s. So cardiovascular disease, you hear that it's gradual loss of muscle, adipose tissue and connective tissue, cardiac muscles, proteins and lipids. And you hear people with atrial fibrillation, where their hearts are not regular. The heart can cause them to have a stroke.
Is that something that could be developed over time, or is it, impacted by food, diet, lifestyle?
It can be both. It can be impacted over time, and it can also be genetics. Because you think if families have had strokes, oftentimes their genetics, they may have a stroke. But they have to take, if they put themselves at less risk if they do lose weight and they are exercising and physically active, or if they've already had a stroke, taking care of their body during the process.
It's interesting you mentioned genetics. My friend, he just passed last year, and not one male made it to 50. He was the oldest to make it to 48. So, genetics played a big part
role
of
in his
it.
family.
Not one male, his fathers, brothers,
Wow.
none of them made it to 50. We thought he was going to beat that, but he didn't.
Wow.
None of them made it.
No, not one.
Wow. And he probably took good care of himself.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, for the most part.
So
What
it's
did he
totally his
pass from?
genetics.
Heart attack. Yeah, had heart issues. Although all the females are still alive, even though within that unit that I'm aware of.
Right.
But the father, the grandfather, the two brothers, and then him.
Wow.
Wow. He's a young guy. So along with heart disease, there's articulosis and articulosis. So articulosis is hardening of the arteries, and that's something that we can't change. Our body ages, and our arteries harden, and it's a part of aging. It's progressive disorder that we can't change. Our blood vessels, it affects our aging. Articulosis is where you get the diseases, and that's something that we can change and make the difference of our bodies and taking care of our bodies.
You said we can't change?
You can't, articulosis you can't change, but articulosis you can. It makes a difference on the blood flow and how we're taking our blood, because blood pressure plays a big role. If you have high blood pressure, you can set yourself up for risks of strokes, heart attacks.
They just came out with a study on the high blood pressure and the pills, and one of the contradictions is, and this is back to the medical situation, but medicine that is, in particularly, they discovered that medicine that African Americans take and are not always set up for you. So the dosage or whatever is not always set up properly for you. And in most cases, weight gain and higher blood pressure is the direct results of poor prescribing.
And I can, to piggyback off that, if it's good that a senior would have a gerontologist or a geriatric doctor, because they can look at that medication, they can look at that culture and see if that's going to work with that body, to see if that's, and they can decrease some of those medications or add medications in. An older adult, they are different than a younger person. So they have the aging process along with the medications and the diseases, so they have to make sure that they're on the proper medications and for their culture as well. So that's something, you're right. A digestive system. Think about our digestive systems. What happened? We lose teeth, right? And our mouth starts to hurt. And then when our mouth starts to hurt, we can't eat as well. Or we might have trouble. Maybe you can't chew that steak or you can't chew that chicken. So maybe you're not eating as well. You're not taking care of your body as well. So, or oral disease happens, and a lot of times oral disease can cause, because it can cause problems in other parts of your body. It's very dangerous. Sugars, proteins, vitamins, minerals are absorbed through the stomach and the intestines, in older as well as young. Nutrition is so important. We need vitamins, minerals for the elderly. Everyone needs it for absorption. Oftentimes, though, we have to think about they can get blockages in their digestive system. So you'll hear of people having a blockage.
Like kidney stones and things like that.
Kidney stone or a stomach, a stomach blockage. And then they can't, and sometimes it's non-reversible. And it can end up killing them. So it's very, very dangerous. They need a full balanced diet with protein, calcium, iron, vitamin A, thiamine, vitamin B, with all the nutritional vitamins as well.
And fiber?
And fiber, oh, definitely. And Metamucil sometimes. If they have a hard time going to the restroom.
Yeah.
The nervous system, there's changes in the brain due to normal aging, but the nervous system is affected. And physiological changes, meaning as you age, you're going to have memory loss, but doesn't necessarily mean you have dementia, or does not necessarily mean you have, because you're losing neurons in your brain. Does not mean that you have dementia or Alzheimer's. Could just be memory loss.
Man, I forgot.
Yeah, we forget. Did you ever think, I got to go run to the store to get something, and you go to the store and you're like, what did I come here for? We all do that, right?
Yeah.
I put it on the list.
Right.
I put it on the list. I don't try to rely totally on my own. I have to have some
Do you think, Mona,
super
that
aids.
sometimes that I notice this with younger people, that they forget as much as we do.
They do.
So I often think that because we're busier, we have a lot on our mind. So at this stage of the game, and I know I'm seasoned myself, but at this stage of the game, I say it's further back in the file cabinet, because within moments I retrieved the information I was looking for. Just like I went to the store today to go get something, forgot what I initially went in there for, but as I was ready to check out, I said, I forgot to get the eggs. So I went back. So I just had to go further in the file cabinet again.
Yeah. Go back a little bit. Yeah. Definitely.
Right.
Well, the young people are suffering because of that sugar.
Yeah.
The excessive amount of sugar in young people and what they eat, and the stuff that they eat, from the hot chips, the candy, the pop, the juice. When we were coming up, you didn't have this variety, right? And it's the variety that and how they were able to get it by, because remember, we had this conversation before. The sugar industry, right? It used to be sugar diabetes. But the sugar industry, right, had to obviously lobby to get it removed, so then you could hide the amount of sugar in things.
Wow.
Right? Because it used to be sugar diabetes. Calvin, you got sugar diabetes. Because sugar is the number one ingredient to diabetes and diabetic behavior.
And now it's in the carbs.
It's in the carbs.
It's in the carbs. And there's syrups and all those kinds of things that are in our diets.
But I think also, I'm sorry, go ahead, Dave.
Now, so we had a full diet, the basic food groups when we were growing up.
And they already disputed that.
Yeah. So as you were saying, the proper nutrition in the interim. So using your mother, for example, if she got the Coke and the candy, it's okay because she had a good diet as a foundation in her system already.
She had the
Now they don't
foundation.
have that.
And then the vaping and the marijuana doesn't help either.
Right, and that's what I was just getting ready to talk about, the genetic and environmental factors and the exposure to chemicals, smoking. There we go, we're talking about the vaping. And their lack of exercise, and their can contribute to memory impairment and reduce cognitive abilities for the elderly. So, the cortex around the brain will thin, and it will cause cognitive decline.
Now you done spoke my word. Cognitive
decline.
So you're saying that say that last part again that you just read.
Around your cortex, that wall thins, and it can be environmental and it can be chemical, as well as genetic. So it's what we're putting into our bodies, like we were talking, smoking, drugs,
environment,
our exposure.
Right, because they just reduce that policy in environmental areas where they don't have to, so they can produce whatever they want in low impoverished areas.
I can tell you that my son was in Seattle, Washington, and he told me, he said, "Mom, I felt so good, and I felt so like the air was clean and the air was fresh. They're way up in the mountains." He said, "I had this like burst of energy. They don't have all the chemicals, all the factories. They don't have the shops. They don't have pollution like we do here." It made a lot of difference. He said he could just feel it. As soon as he walked, he could just feel the difference. So all that has it plays a big part in the way.
Oh, yeah?
Did you feel it? Did you have more energy there?
Well, I don't know, because I was already wired for sound, so I don't make that statement. But it definitely is a nice environment to be in. It's beautiful.
Yeah, he just said it was just a totally different environment that was clean. And he said, "Why is it?" And they were telling him, because you're not having that. You're high, your altitude's higher, and you're exposed. You not have all the factories and all the chemicals around that you do, like here in Detroit, that we're exposed to. So. Okay.
It's some good information. It's some, what do you say, things that make you go, What's that, Arsenio Hall show? Right. Really.
So what about sensitivity? So, we have other senses, like our tongue.
Mm-hmm.
So our tongue, that's, our taste buds, we talked about food, and our tongue, that would make a reason to why we might not, and our tongues things can happen we say things wrong, but also our taste buds change. The last taste to go is, what do you think the last taste to go is? Sweet.
It's got to be
anything
sweet.
else you can give, you're trying to get a senior to eat something, you can't get them to eat anything else, they'll eat that sweet, but they might not eat those vegetables. That's because those senses have gone. So that's a part of aging as well.
And that's why they cook with sugar.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
I couldn't understand. We were at a family outing, and everybody, my family can really cook macaroni and cheese. So I grabbed a scoop of macaroni and cheese, put it on my plate, and nobody said nothing. Me, of course, being who I am. Like, what's up with this macaroni and cheese? You know what I mean? Who put sugar in macaroni and cheese? They're to my bubs. Everybody being quiet. Boy, we put sugar. Since when did we start that as a family tradition? Y'all trying to kill somebody over here? You gonna load the sugar in the macaroni and cheese, and there's already all that other stuff in the macaroni and cheese. You trying to knock somebody off? You know what I mean? Yeah, it was crazy. Like, they told me I had to be quiet. It's another pan. Go back there and it's another pan without the sugar.
Did it have it in there too, or no? No.
But don't set that out. But it was older people.
They can feed.
That way they can only taste it.
They'll mix in nursing homes or assisted living. They'll mix sugar with their mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Or they'll mix sugar with their
just so they can taste.
So they taste it, so they can get them to eat it. You want them to eat. You want them to have as much calorie intake as you can, and if that's all they're going to eat because their taste buds
Is only at the sugar.
Only the sugar, so you still want them to eat.
Yeah.
Sensitivity is pain too. Our reflexes and our if you're sensitive to something, like if it's really loud squeaky noise and it just really bothers you, and you might have a hard time with that too. Or like screeching on a chalkboard, it might cause you pain.
Or styrofoam, those styrofoam containers. That annoys my sister. She hates it. That together.
And then our reflexes, like maybe we're faster to respond to things when we were younger, but now we don't have the reflex that we can't respond as easy anymore. So,
especially those people who are very quick-witted. They could respond to you really quickly, have a joke on the right there
witty.
waiting for you. Right.
Yeah, they're very witty.
Yeah.
So along with that, we need to keep ourselves physically active. And there's different ways that seniors can keep themselves physically active. And it says they need 150 aerobic activity minutes of aerobic activity per week.
Ooh.
150. It could be 30 minutes a day, 5 times a week. Or it could be sitting in a chair with exercise. It can be walking. It can be stretching. Chair yoga. A big thing now is they're talking water aerobics is one of the best exercises out there, and it's non-painful. When they're done, you get a good workout out from the water aerobics. Resistant band workouts, like using resistant bands.
Okay, I do like those.
Pilates, walking, just going on a hike, walking, just lifting weights, body weight exercises, strengthening with dumbbells, even just if it's a 1 pound. Strength training.
Pilates.
Pilates.
Pilates for your body.
For your body. And then, like in the assisted living and the nursing homes, they do an exercise class that they trigger memory. So they'll do wash windows. So they make the movements things that they've done. Pick apples, iron your clothes, dust your furniture, and it's a 30-minute exercise program.
To trigger.
But it triggers your memory. March, kick your legs.
I remember when my mama, my dad.
So, but then too, keeping them as a Tai Chi. Have you heard of Tai Chi? Mm-hmm. That's physical, mental, and social benefits of Tai Chi. Playing games keeps the mind stimulated. Playing games, mind games like rummy, playing cards, Uno, Monopoly, word games, trivia. Bingo is the biggest thing. People love going to bingo.
Scrabble and dominoes too.
Yeah, dominoes.
Mm-hmm.
I done lost in Scrabble again.
You don't do well with.
No, I do well. I actually do well. I just lost the last 2 times. This last time I lost just by a few. I got blowed out the time before.
Oh, look at you admitting that.
Oh yeah, I win at everything else. I win it 90% of the time. So all I do is win. I need to take some losses, right?
Right. Bunko is an activity that seniors like to play, or like word Scrabble, where you put a word on the board and they scrabble the word.
Oh,
and I
nice.
have to come up with many words from that word.
Oh, I like that.
Because that's mind challenging. Yeah. And somebody might just say, the word it. Okay. But somebody else may come up with a big word. So as long as they're participating, that's very stimulating to the mind.
What about chess?
Chess.
Checkers.
Wow. Now, checkers, chess is very intense. If you play chess, you really have to be focused. But you do see some chess players, some guys who are really into chess. Checkers they have a good time with checkers. Yeah. Cane, they say that self-defense, they're starting to do things for seniors with self-defense, teaching them how to protect themselves.
They should.
And they're teaching them to use their canes. To, somebody comes by, knock them one, but they're teaching them during exercise how to use it, how to properly use it.
Wow.
They should, because they're attacked. They're vulnerable.
attacked.
They're vulnerable. Right.
Yeah.
They're very attacked.
And then, what are they at risk most of? They're at risk of falls. So they're at risk of falls. And what can a fall do? A fall can break a hip. A fall can change their life. A fall can put them in a wheelchair.
Oh yeah, bust their head,
Bust
bust
their
their eye,
head, bust
lose a
their
limb,
hide,
all
lose
that.
a limb. Do so many things a fall can cause. Traveling. When you traveling is a great physical activity for seniors because they've got to, if they're driving, if they're capable of driving, they're driving somewhere. So they're on a road trip, or if they go on a plane and they're able to, there's some exercise there getting on the plane. Being able to keep track of everything that you have to keep track of when you're traveling. It would be a suggestion to go with someone else. I would not say to go by themselves. But if they're capable of traveling with somebody with them, and there's all kinds of trips out there that are planned. Games that energize, any type of energizing games to get them going. Big balls, toss, volleyball, chair volleyball,
Dancing.
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 Yeah. Indoor activities, chair exercises, kicking a ball, low impact senior exercises in the chair. Hobbies, arts and crafts. You would be surprised, but keeping the mind stimulated with doing an arts and craft project, rug hooking, coloring, painting, those kinds of things has your arm moving at the same time, but it's also you're doing something physical. You're sitting up, but you're also stimulated. Putting a project together. A lot of seniors like to do like if you make a wreath or something, finishing that project so they can bring it home and put it on their door. You're with other people. You're accomplishing a project, but you're also moving around. It's physical. So any of those things that you think are not physical, they are. It might be at a lower level, but they're still being active. So it's important to be active. Keeping that muscle mass going, keeping the exercise going, keeping the lifting weights. And then, anytime you do things, you should always have advice from your doctor. If you're going to go on a huge hike, and maybe you've had some cardiovascular stuff going on and you're by yourself, that might not be the best decision. Maybe you need to seek medical attention before you do that. But cause sometimes, people get by themselves and they have situations that happen.
Some of the women in my life that are mentors to me, I have a couple of them that have started to do different types of activities. So one of my aunts decided that she was going to start skating again.
Wow.
She talked about roller skating being so much fun when she was younger and had decided to get back to it. One of my mentors, she said the same thing. I have another mentor, and I'm saying mentors, they are maybe within 10 to 15 years older than me. And they were talking about, one of them was my teacher, and she rides her bike from the DeQuinder Cut from the east side.
Oh, good.
And she lives in Rosedale Park. So she says she rides at least 15 to 20 miles twice a week.
For her.
Yes, I don't see how she can sit on that seat.
So does she
the bike.
ride her bike all the way from her house all the way down the riverfront to the DeQuinder Cut? I mean, all the way?
Well, I think she mentioned that she gets dropped off and she rides back.
Okay.
Yeah, she rides back. And there are a lot of groups now that are bike clubs.
Yeah,
that do
you
a lot
see
of riding
thousands
together.
of bikes together. It's just like you'll go through Ferndale and there's all these bikes going by.
Yeah. So, it is a space where people are catching on and building social relationships around their activities now, which I think is a really great idea. Same thing with, we talked about bingo. There's a lot of social gatherings around bingo as a social activity.
And like you said, dancing, square dancing or line dancing.
Hustle.
People get together, soul dance. Yeah, hustle dancing.
Ballroom. Yeah.
Tennis.
That's what's up.
Tennis has became an activity, or squash, what do they call it, or racquetball?
Racquetball.
They're really back into that again, and you'll see a lot of seniors doing that.
Yeah, because they can cut the court and smaller. I forget what they call it now.
What do they call
Yeah,
it?
when you put a racket on.
Yeah.
They kind of cook.
Make it small.
Yeah, I was 20, I must have been about 22, and I had a guy, he was in his 50s, and now he had me bouncing off the wall. I mean, it just was crazy because he just cut the cord off, he cut it down there, and that's what he was just doing his thing.
Right.
So it's definitely a skill, and I had to learn it the hard way.
Yeah, but it's a new sport that they're doing on a tennis court.
Yeah. What is it called?
What is it?
Pickleball.
Pickleball.
That's
yeah.
what it is.
And it's seniors that are doing it. I mean, you'll see like they'll reserve the courts and exercise in gyms because they're playing pickleball with each other.
I've seen the cornhole. I've seen younger people doing the cornhole toss more than
Yeah,
right, more than the older people.
Yeah, that's but it's young, old, like they've already monetized it.
Mm-hmm.
So now they got teams, professional teams, the whole nine. Like they've monetized the cornhole.
I know, I saw that on TV like a month ago. I was like, it's a competition now.
Oh yeah, it's for real.
And they have a lot of senior athletic leagues too.
I won that though at home. In our home, I run that.
Even jobs that you are around the house, like raking the leaves. Right now, raking the leaves is a big project.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You go rake the leaves.
and it's good for you.
When the weather gets bad, they can go inside the mall and go walking inside the mall. I know at 12 Oaks Mall they do that. They used to do it here at Northland, but Northland's not here.
Yeah,
So, but they, go inside and walk for the. But then, you got to also think about when you're exercising about balance. You have to worry, make sure that you have good balance to be able to do those things. If your balance isn't good, then maybe it needs to be from a chair or from a balance is something that you have to think about as well.
All right, so we have been filled to the guild with information about seniors, and of course you have had plenty of time to call in and to get some questions in, but this is a major disconnect, right? And it's important that we have these conversations. It's a major disconnect. We there again. I wrote an article, getting ready to write another article about the damages of men and being left alone, and women being left alone, right? And in their older years, in their later years, because if you don't have people around, it's kind of hard to keep up with you. And that's one of the things that, as families, we got to get back to. I also recently seen where, and here's another thing, and people call this up, but in China, marriage is a thing. So marriage is now being rewarded and encouraged in China while in college. And if you find the love of your life while in college, they're rewarding you with money, a home, the whole nine. Now, somebody said, why would you do that? Well, the importance of family has to be recognized, and it's good that they see it. I believe that the United States, in its division, has consistently attacked the family, which created a bunch of dynamics. But right now, we understand that kids need both parents. And it's important that we understand the dynamic of enduring a relationship and a marriage, because it's creating, when we split or when we do things, we create a lot of damage. And that damage has really hurt the brand of family in America. Like, it's really hurting. And so, again, in this process, I say all that to say, hey, put your family first. Dave, tell them how much time we got. Do we got some time?
About 10 minutes.
Oh, we got 10 minutes. Good. I was about to sign y'all off.
Statement about more of the Asian countries, they actually started to pay them as well to have children, because right now they're having like 1.5 kids in a family. And there was one period of time where they wanted them reduced because the population appearing to be out of control, so they reduced it. But now I just saw it today, and they were talking about it over the Asian countries as well in Europe. They're asking and they're paying them to have more children.
Yeah.
Because it seemed like it's not happening anymore.
Well, yeah.
And the ethnic groups will be decreased because of the fact that you're not having kids.
And so they went down that list, right? Wasn't it a list, Dave? So they went down the list of the birth rates, right? But again, it's funny how suddenly that's important, right? And so that's where the commercial really disturbed me with, since the ban in some states across the nation, since the abortion ban, they calculated 64,000 babies born through rape. Rape is one of the most dynamic things in this country. It's the most dynamic, and I know seniors deal with it. Yeah. But rape is one of the most dynamic things in this country that we call freedom. In 2019, it was 131,615 rapes in the United States. Reported. Right? There are probably more, but there are 46,000 unanswered rape kits. 86% of them are African American women. In 2021, between sexual assaults and rapes, there were over 282,000. Now, 2019, the ban, 2021. Men like to escape through some of these dynamics. Even of the 283,000, there were only 42,000 male rapes. That's 42,000 men were raped that were reported. Right? So of those numbers, when you look at it, let's look at all the ones that occurred where she said no, but just gave in. Didn't report it. Didn't want to fight back. Was in a bad position. Same for men. So we don't want to distill that. But that's a very interesting thing in this country. Raping women. And somehow, right, it disturbed me, especially with the accusations in this election. It really disturbed me. And so, I don't know if y'all been paying attention, but I done moved in protective mode for women. I'm in the collective. I'm speaking at the women's day. I done moved in protective mode because we got to arm them with a conversation for them to understand what it's like to have a good man. Mm-hmm. We have to arm them with that conversation because women are in this independent space, and it's understandable because they're gifted. Mm-hmm. We seem to think, and this is why I have a problem with certain things, but we seem to think that she's not gifted. We've called this woman out her name, who's a lawyer, prosecutor, right? We've consistently demeaned. It says everything. And I've been just watching. I've watched Friends. I've watched Men. I've watched them all and call them out her name. Call her this. Say that. And one of my friends, I had to say, you don't have a daughter. And you obviously don't respect your mom. For you to put in position, right? My mother's name was Ollie Bell. Ollie Bell Rosetta, man. My mother helped prostitutes get off the streets. In this dynamic, this rape culture that we've come to accept is playing out right in our face. So I'm gonna get off that, but I was just saying, right, that it is very interesting that this entire process in the election, directly in the middle of it, is rape culture. Dave, where can I reach you?
You can reach me at David FMAM Patterson on Facebook and at yahoo.com. DROM7 at yahoo.com.
Ms. Mana?
You can reach me at mhanson10 at email.davenport.edu and 248-619-5874.
Dr. Heather?
You can reach me at You're Inspired with a D, yourinspiredjourney.com. And you can reach me by phone at 313-759-7855. I would rather you call me than instant or DM me on social media.
Can you put up the flyer?
I sure can.
So,
Where can they reach you, Mr. Dr. Calvin Man?
at calvintman.com. You can reach me at calvintman.com. And this event, right, is to bring men into the space and talk with men. Elder Jonathan Wynn is bringing his men that he meets with on Saturday. Gerald Edwards would like to say something at closing. We'll be talking, but we're also going to bring in Huntington Bank to talk to the men about money, where they can get some loans, some information that they need to get. Again, our seniors are important. When you have an opportunity, you need to pull up on your grandparents and your great aunts and have conversations. I know one thing, I might be a little short in this area, but we are often having these conversations with elderly people, my brothers and my cousins and family. We still are having these conversations and pulling up on aunties. We were just at my cousin's cafe where my Aunt Rosie was there, and the parent, and my Aunt Rosie is the one that gave me the White House, right? So, and we just need to get the wisdom as much as we can passed down. Get your recipes and secrets and conversations and learn. You need to know who you are. So, tap in with some seniors, your uncles, aunts, cousins, grandmothers, if you can, and get some information. Just listen. In the wise words of my mother, Ollie Bell, get your ass in somewhere and sit down. With that being said, thank you for tuning in to Put Your Family First podcast. Peace. She said that.